I never believed in the supernatural. Ghosts, poltergeists, possessions, all of it seemed like fiction for impressionable people and thrill seekers. But after what happened to me last autumn, I can't be sure of anything anymore. It all started when I got a new job at a small provincial museum. The museum building was an old 19th century mansion that once belonged to a wealthy industrialist. An imposing three-story structure made of dark brick, with tall pointed windows and turrets at the corners, it looked quite gloomy even on a sunny day. My position was called night watchman. My duties included patrolling the museum halls at night, monitoring security systems and alarms. It was an easy job, plus it paid extra for night hours. I was satisfied. The first few weeks passed quietly. I got used to the silence of empty halls, to the bizarre shadows cast by exhibits in the light of emergency lamps. Sometimes, of course, it felt a bit eerie, especially when passing by old portraits whose eyes seemed to follow me. But I chalked it up to a vivid imagination and excess caffeine. But one night everything changed. I was doing my usual rounds when I suddenly heard a sound like a child's laughter. It was coming from somewhere above, from the third floor. I froze, listening. The sound repeated, this time more distinctly. A child's laughter in an empty museum in the middle of the night. The thought sent chills down my spine. Gathering my courage, I started climbing the stairs. Each step creaked under my feet, and this sound in the night silence seemed deafening. Reaching the third floor, I turned on my flashlight and illuminated the corridor. Empty. I slowly walked forward, carefully examining every corner, and suddenly out of the corner of my eye I noticed some movement. Turning sharply, I caught a glimpse of a small figure in white darting around the corner. My heart started racing. I rushed after it, but there was no one around the corner. The rest of the night passed without incident, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. In the morning, I told the museum director about what happened. He listened to me with a serious expression and reluctantly admitted that similar things had happened before. According to him, a tragedy had occurred in this house long ago. The owner's daughter, a little girl, died after falling from a third-floor window. Since then, strange things had been happening in the museum. Objects moved by themselves, unexplained sounds were heard, and some visitors and staff claimed to have seen the ghost of a child. I didn't know what to think. Part of me was still resisting, trying to find a rational explanation, but things were getting stranger. Every night I heard children's laughter, footsteps, whispers. Sometimes out of the corner of my eye, I'd catch a glimpse of a white figure flitting at the end of the corridor. And then truly frightening things started happening. One night I discovered that all the portraits in one of the halls were turned face to the wall. Another time I found a stuffed teddy bear on the floor, even though I knew for certain there was no such exhibit in the museum. But the most terrifying incident happened about a month after the first incident. I was doing my usual rounds when I suddenly heard a heart-wrenching child's scream. It was coming from that very room on the third floor, from which the girl had fallen out of the window long ago. Overcoming my fear, I rushed there. Flinging open the door, I saw something that forever changed my perception of reality. In the middle of the room stood the semi-transparent figure of a little girl in an old-fashioned white dress. She was looking directly at me with huge, sad eyes, and then slowly raised her hand and pointed to the window. At that moment, I felt an inexplicable horror overtake me. It seemed as if the room itself was filled with cold and despair. I couldn't take it and ran out, slamming the door behind me. The next day I quit. I couldn't stay in that creepy place for another minute. But memories of that night still haunt me. I often wake up in a cold sweat, remembering the sad eyes of the ghostly girl. Now I know the line between our world and the supernatural is much thinner than we think, and sometimes that line blurs, allowing the two worlds to touch. But are we ready to face what lies on the other side? I realized I wasn't ready, and I hope I never encounter anything like that again. But every time I pass old buildings, I involuntarily peer into dark windows, and each time I think I see a pale child's face sadly looking at me from another world.